if you have any communication with your guest at all, if you can, keep 100% of that communication in the TURO app. Welcome back to my TURO channel, man. I'm Believe in Yourself. We'll be talking about TURO and helping you guys get your host status to where you need it to be. Now, for this series, we're going to be talking about the TURO app and how it works. Definitely subscribe, like, definitely please comment. Let me know what you guys want to see next and share this video. Don't forget to turn on your notifications so you can know every time we drop a video, man. Peace. Welcome back to the Believe in Yourself channel, network, where we're talking about TURO. Today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about, messaging. Let's talk about the messaging within the TURO app, the importance of it, what do you use it for, how useful is it, and making sure, ultimately just understanding the major importance of messaging on the TURO app. That's what we're going to talk about today. So with TURO messaging, that is the best way, I would say, the number one way, even over calling your guest. Messaging through the TURO app is the number one way and the best form of communication on the TURO app. Let me back that up. It's the most important form of communication, but it isn't the easiest or, the best way, I would say. Put it that way. Why is it so important? Number one, if there are any agreements made between you and the guest, unless you can show proof of it, either through a screenshot of a text message, and even then they would have to verify the phone number to make sure it belongs to the guest. So let's say you had like a situation like me where a guest, the phone number that they had registered with TURO was off, and then they're calling you from, or calling and messaging you from a whole nother number that's not even associated with that account. That when it goes back to this, any agreement or conversation you may have had about reimbursement or anything going on with the vehicle, if it's not verifiable that way, then TURO would have to ask the guest. And then that's a toss-up depending on what type of guest you have. If you have a guest who is honest, most cases, I would say 9 out of 10 guests you get are going to be amazing renters. And out of the 10%, I would say 9 out of 10 of them are still, I would say 7 out of those 10%. Let's say you're going over 100 people, so now it's 10 people. And out of those 10 people, I would say 7 of those 10 people would be reasonable and have good arguments if they did give you a bad review or if they're a bad renter or whatever. And it'll be those 0.3% of people that you just don't know which way they're going to go. And they may not be honest when TURO calls them if there's no documentation of whatever conversation you guys had, and you're telling TURO this, and they're trying to go back and verify with the guest, and the guest says, no, oh boy, I didn't say that, or I don't remember agreeing to that, or I don't know about that, then whatever you're trying to get reimbursed or whatever questions you're trying to get handled, whatever, in the situation, you're going to be pretty much stuck. You're going to be assed out, for lack of a better word. So the best way to use messaging. Now, there's going to be situations where it may be an emergency and the guest may just want to call you. I'm not telling you never communicate by phone or through WhatsApp or other mediums, but I just want you to understand the importance of text messaging in the TURO app is for documentation. I don't know how more I can say this. I'm coming back to it. I was going to hit something else, but I just want to make sure I hammer and nail that home. If you have any communication with your guest at all, if you can, keep 100% of that communication in the TURO app, on the messaging. I don't care if you got to type out 3 paragraphs, type those 3 paragraphs. It is better to have it and have the documentation so that you can be covered in the event. Now, there's a time you may have to go back. It's going to be there in black and white. Now, other ways of using the messaging app, if you want to go on your own path and not listen to me, but one way it would help to automate your business is using the messaging to do pre and post trip messages, like a welcome and exit message to your guests, so that they can know how the check-in process is. Hey, how you doing? Just a couple of nuances that they may need to know about your car in your welcome message. You can automate that within the TURO app. So they have a messaging center where you can set or preset messages that will come on certain prompts. So the prompt that I have is when a guest makes a booking at my home location. I have a certain prompted message that tells the guest, okay, when you arrive, you're going to do such and such and such. You're going to see this, Thank you for renting my vehicle. I really appreciate your business, blah, blah, blah. And then I have another one set for 12 hours prior to them leaving. So if they're leaving at 7 a.m., at 7 p.m., they'll get an exit message. Hey, just once again, I want to tell you thank you for renting my vehicle. When you return the vehicle, you're going to do this. You're going to park it this way, and you're going to get this key, and you're going to put the key back here, and you're going to make sure you do this. All these things, you're going to take your post-trip photos and make sure the gas tank is filled. All of those things you want to make sure you touch on in your pre and post-trip messages. I also have one set for airport bookings. So the one that I have set for airport bookings is a little bit different than the one I have that when you book it at my house, because going to the airport, depending on what terminal you park at, I ask you, what airline will you be flying with, so I can kind of gauge what terminal you'll be coming out of, which will then allow me to gauge, what areas to then park my car, because most times I do airport drop-offs, because I usually work most times when people are coming in on flights, or it's really early in the morning or really, really late at night. So I usually park my car a couple hours before the time in a certain location and find. But all of those things of how the process is going to go is in the message. And I have it set for the booking part of it when they book the trip for 1 minute after. So once they book the trip, boop, 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 they may put the phone down or turn away from the screen. Boop. 1 minute later, you're going to get a message from me automatically. So you're going to think, whoa, he's on it immediately. But then once you read it, you might realize but it just gives the guest that ease of mind, like, okay. Because most of my renters, I would say it's about 50-50 in my market, or at least how my renters go, that I get someone who's rented on TURO before, or somebody who's rented not at all on TURO. It's about 50-50. And then out of that 50% that has rented on TURO, I would say at least half of those guests have only rented on TURO less than 3 times. So I'm talking about 1 or 2. And the other half will be 3 or more. So you'll get people who would be a little nervous when it comes to renting. Like, let's face it, this is a brand new thing. Even though TURO's almost 10 years old or about 10 years old, this is still brand new to a lot of people. So a lot of people have not gone through the process of renting a car, through an app or online. You used to go into the teller, or even if you did rent it online, you knew you're going to go to a Hertz rental counter or something like that. But with this Turo, there's like this mystery. If it's your first time renting on it, like, okay, I get it, but what do I do? You know, so it kind of puts your guest at an ease of mind. And then before their trip ends, they get another message, and it's like, okay, I get it. I know how to. So I feel like that eases anxiety in some guests, just knowing how the process is going to go, especially those first-time renters, or sometimes people who've rented in the past haven't rented in a while since COVID and don't know how it goes now. You know, most people do a lot of contactless pickups, whereas in the past, you would 9 times out of 10 you would meet your host. But now most times people are doing contactless pickups just because of the climate we're in with, you know, little thing that jab everybody been getting. We was wearing masks and all that, so people are still getting back used to that. One of the biggest negatives I have about it, but I understand why they do it because it just makes it easier to find certain things, is you cannot upload photos in the messaging. So there's no putting photos or anything like that. Like sometimes you might want to say, hey, like when I'm doing my airport deliveries, sometimes I want to take a picture of something and then describe where this is. So I describe it, take a picture, but I can't do that. So you have to I put all the descriptions in the messages, and then they have the trip photos where you upload the photos. So it's two separate places. I wish they had it, but I understand why they don't. So I've never suggested for them to do that, but I get it. That's one of the downfalls. I would say, you know, it's a lot easier if I could just send a photo right here instead of having to upload it. Because especially first-time guests, it's tough to navigate when it's your first time doing it. After a while, you get used to it. I feel like the app is pretty self-explanatory once you work with it a few times. But if it's your first or second time renting on the app, you might be a little fumbly or a little, you know, lost with how to navigate through this app, and you would just want to make sure that you put your guest at ease. So even in my welcome message, I kind of describe to them certain things in a certain way so that they know how to find the photo. I let them know how to go find photos, how to go upload photos. I just describe it to them in the app. Those things right there, man, you know, and I was just talking about photos, but I went back to the messaging that I was just talking about, but describing it. But I just want to make sure that you guys are understanding. Number one, excuse me, my mouth is a little dry right now. Number one, messaging is a must. As much as you can, if 100% of your communication can be done through messaging, you do your messaging through the TURO app. Number two, if not, at least set automated messages. You know, it can be in the middle of the trip. There's different times. TURO allows you to set it how you want to. For people, when they get messages from you, just go check it out. Set automated messages. It really helps, and it allows for your response rate to be through the roof. Like my response rate is always at 100%. You know, 1 minute, I think it's been at 0 minutes for a while, and that's just because I have set automated messaging. Lastly, we spoke a little bit about not being able to send photos, but I told you how you can do it. You go into the trip photos and you upload the photos. And I spoke a little bit about how that's how I put in my messaging, certain things I describe to the guests so they know how to navigate the app. And that's pretty much all you really need to know about messaging and messaging in the TURO app. It is very important. You want to try to have all your communication. I don't know how many times I can reiterate that. If you didn't get anything from this video, the one thing you should get, as much as possible as I can, all my communication must be done through the TURO app. It will save you a lot of hassle in the long run. Just if that's all you get that. The other two, you'll figure it out along the way. Maybe you like my ideas, maybe you don't. But I know for 100% certain, I don't care what level of TURO host you are, and if you are a high-level TURO host, you would agree. As much as you can, communicate through that app. And if you do it any other way, have screenshots, have some type of way of documenting so that when you want to make a claim or you want to do something, they have black and white to look at. Because, like I said, it's an app. So if you want to make any type of claims or do anything with that, man, it's going to be a little difficult. So that's about it, man. All messaging in the app. Peace. Oh, like, comment, subscribe. Hey, if you understood what I said about doing all your messaging through the app, put a like on this video. Put a like. Peace. As long as you believe you can't make it, you won't make it. If you believe that you can do it, you will do it.